¿Cómo es vivir cuando sabes que tu padre ha matado a 5 millones de personas? Cuando tu padre ha sido el responsable de firmar órdenes de exterminio en los campos de Auschwitz. La persona que entrevisto hoy se llama Niklas Frank, es el hijo de un líder nazi que estuvo al cargo de Polonia, se le conoce como el carnicero de Polonia, y en la conversación de hoy hablamos de cómo fue su vida, cómo fue crecer sintiéndose el rey del mundo, porque vivían en un palacio en Polonia, cómo fue descubrir quién era realmente su padre, cómo fue para él ver a su padre ahorcado en los juicios de Núremberg, que ya sabéis que son unos juicios que se hicieron juzgando a los líderes nazis que habían podido capturar y los ahorcaron a todos. Entonces, hoy Niklas nos habla de todo esto, es una conversación, como os podéis imaginar, súper interesante, una vida única. Espero que os guste muchísimo, os agradezco un montón que veáis las entrevistas y recordaros que es gratis porque está patrocinado por Podimo. Si queréis acceder al contenido premium de la plataforma, solo tenéis que ir a mi Instagram, @JudithTiral, y ahí encontraréis un enlace con 30 días gratis. Muchas gracias, chicos, un besito, adiós.
Tenía la duda. Un podcast de Judith Tiral.
First of all, Niklas, really thank you so much for saying yes and inviting me to your house and everything. I really appreciate it, really.
Welcome.
I always like to start from the very beginning, what was your childhood?
And so I had a wonderful childhood. I'm born in March 1939, so it was the beginning. And my life was partly in Poland, in Krakow, partly in Upper Bavaria. As you can imagine, as the son of a big-shot Nazi, I had a wonderful life all during the war. And I enjoyed it because I didn't know anything else as a child. I didn't know anything that my father was a mass murderer. I only knew that he's a very powerful person. He was the Governor General in occupied Poland, and so I never saw anything bad or killed people or something like this. It's changed everything after the war because suddenly we were a criminal family. And they took away everything what we have got, and we suddenly were very poor. And my father was arrested on the 4th of May in 1945, or 4 days before the end of the war. Also, I have 4 siblings. So for the 5 children, it was very strange that suddenly your powerful father was arrested, then shown in the newspaper as a defendant on the bench in Nuremberg. This was really strange.
How did you manage to escape with your siblings and your mom, and your dad couldn't?
In the autumn of 1945, the Americans, who has Bavaria under their rule, published newspapers. And in one of these newspapers, which also my mother and my eldest 2 siblings always read, were suddenly pictures of murdered, naked people in concentration camps, which I don't know nothing about concentration camps, but under these naked bodies of these Jewish people, which I don't know that, didn't know that they were Jewish, or they didn't know anything about Jewish or something like this, always was written Poland, or it must have been Auschwitz or some other of our camps where we killed the innocent Jewish people, and also Poles and Ukrainians, whatever was along. And this gave me, I think, the shock of my life, because suddenly my powerful father was connected with these poor, naked people, only bones and some skin, and this gave me really a shock.
Were you ever scared to? This question is a little bit, but they say do you think your dad was a psychopath?
No. Okay. He was. I never met, or if I showed to the other big shot Nazis, he was the most well-educated guy. And she knew he was brought up as a Catholic. And then he could study law inside the Weimar Republic before the Nazis came. So he knew by heart, by soul, by belief and by brain what's right, what's wrong.
How did he, if he was smart and he knew the ethics and you don't think he was a psycho, how did he end doing all those things?
He liked very much, I would say, till to a kind of homosexual feeling to Hitler. What's no excuses for his crimes. And he was very much, he wanted to make a career. And if you suddenly the king of Poland, as Goebbels used to say about him, then you will forget everything else. He knew exactly what we are doing with the Jews, for how many killings he is responsible, because as a deputy of Hitler, he was politically responsible for every crime the Germans committed in occupied Poland. This he knew. This he knew. And never changed. Also in his last letters to my mother and to his lawyer, he wrote, "Please find out the truth about me. I never was a criminal."
How did he meet Hitler? How did they meet each other?
My father was born in 1900 and grew up in the German, you say, Kaiserreich. We had an emperor and we were, sorry for all the Spanish, we were the leading industrial nation inside Europe in the beginning of the 20th century. And suddenly, after the First World War in 1918, everything is gone. He could live with a splendid Germany, and suddenly it was a poor Germany without anything. And he wrote in his diary as a youngster, somebody has to come and bring back the honor to Germany. Maybe it's me. So he was, and this is for me understandable, yes? That you love your country and suddenly it's rotten and fights in the streets and money is nothing, inflation high and all this kind of things. But so he met in Munich, he met Hitler. And he started by chance, he was a lawyer, and in the newspaper for the Nazi party, Vorwärts, some Nazi people were looking to a lawyer who defends them. And my father took over and won. And so he became more and more, and suddenly he was a Nazi lawyer. And then Hitler, they came very near, because he was then the personal lawyer of Hitler.
Why did Hitler give him Poland, or to be in charge of Poland? How did they become so close?
Yeah, it was very strange, because when Hitler took over in January of 1933, my father was sitting there. He was then for reunification of all the country laws for 1 more year. Then he became Reichsminister, also inside the cabinet, but this cabinet could you throw away, while it never really actually Hitler was saying where's the way we go. And suddenly, when we invaded Poland, he was with his regiment to enter the war as a reservist. He was then 39 years old. And suddenly he got the call from Mr. Hess. He should come to Hitler's train, who was then standing in Upper Silesia. And within 10 minutes Hitler gave him made him Governor General of occupied Poland. And then he came back and knelt down in front of my wife saying, "You will become Queen of Poland." And I think Hitler found out immediately, when he became known each other, what a thuggish character my father was. And he will never really make an opposition to all these mass murders which Hitler had planned and Himmler in Poland.
in the family, because you were really young, but the family, they never saw him maybe change his mind or be like, because he was in charge of 4 of the 6 extermination camps, no? So he knew how many people he was killing and everything. He never came sad.
As far as I know. So I don't know. There's one scene. My brother Norman, he went then in Krakow in a German high school, yes? And in the afternoon they played soccer, football, yes? In the park.
Yeah.
And suddenly one of the German boys were saying, oh, now they are shooting Poles again. And they were hearing the national anthem from very shivering voices sung. And my brother ran together with the other boys around some corners, and there were about 30 corpses lying in the street. Because whenever a German was killed by the Poles, the Germans killed between 30 and 50 Poles from the streets. They were really killed, as hostages, killed right away. And then my brother Norman had, I don't know what, I think I would say, evening dinner. And therefore I love my brother also very much. He was sitting with my father, they were alone. So all the family was not there, we were in Upper Bavaria, I would say. And he asked my father, we were sitting golden, everything very precious. And he asked my father, Vati, what's going on there? In this afternoon I have seen a lot of dead corpses there in the street. And how was the reaction of this very powerful guy, the king of Poland? He threw down his fork and knife, jumped from his chair, and screamed at my brother Norman, I don't want to hear anything about this, and ran out of the room.
Why?
This is a strange question. He knew, but he didn't want to know.
Oh my God.
And that was it. He is the only relative, the only family member was my brother Norman, who once confronted him, was the truth, was the reality. And this my father couldn't endure.
Do you think only your family was disconnected from like reality and misery, or were like all the
The grown-ups must have known. So every grown-up must have known. My brother Michael and me, we got a lot of presents. All the guests were bringing cars and something to play with. And Michael and me immediately destroyed all these things for playing with. And later when I was grown up, this I found out. As a child, you get it with you. There's something wrong. The grown-ups behaving not quite relaxed, because every grown-up, every German knew exactly what happened day by day, day by day. And that comes down to the children, and therefore we are destroying everything.
It's strange that, for me it's crazy that they were teaching you ethics, how to be a good boy, you know, like you do this, you can do this, don't lie to me, but at the same time, you know, they were not caring about the Jews. Your dad was like signing all these things to kill the Jews. It's so weird to, you know, to understand that a person can care about you even if they are cold, and at the same time do these awful things, no? Like how did you manage to understand that? It's crazy.
Whenever I hear the word, there were monsters, that I find completely wrong. Because if you are a monster, you are not responsible for your acts. No? So there were, all of them were very healthy people, more or less educated, but they were absolutely healthy in their brains. They knew exactly what they are doing.
When they arrest your dad, How did you know? Like he could call you and be like.
No. It was so that my eldest siblings, Sigrid and Norman, my father had an office, at the lake of Schliersee, but 3 kilometers behind our house. My Sigrid and Norman went cycling to his house, where he had his office and some people around him. And my father offered coffee and some cakes and said to my sister and my brother, I think I'm the last minister of the Reich in freedom who can offer some cake and coffee. They saw an American jeep coming, and that was his arrest. And this Norman and Sigrid have seen when they came out with Hans Frank.
Did he say he was scared or something? When he said, I'm the last free, he didn't say, I'm scared, or I would like to run away, or...
He had a passport with the name of Fischer, I don't know the first name. He could have fled to Italy. There was a red line, the so-called red line, where the Catholic Church are doing a lot to get the big crime people from the Nazis to South America and so. And he was sitting there since the end of January in his office and waiting for his arrest.
Why?
I don't know. This I never found out why he didn't do anything for his own life. And he was 45 years old then. And he had this diary of his duties, Diensttagebuch in Germany. This he handed over voluntarily to the Americans.
Why?
And I don't know. I don't know what happened with him that I was. And then to this before mentioned psychiatrist, he said, everybody around me told me, please destroy these diaries. And I said, no, I will hand it over. I think he thought that the inside here always had struggled with Himmler. Because a really powerful person in the government chair was not my father, but it was Himmler with his SS. And I thought that there was some quarrels that the judges will acknowledge what a kind of wonderful fighter my father was. And he has done nothing.
When he was waiting for the Nuremberg trials, you could go and see him for one last time, no?
My father was arrested. And the family didn't hear anything of him till November 45, when he showed up in the Nuremberg. And then there was a big letter here and there, especially between my eldest sister and even more especially with my mother and him. And every week there were no TV. And there were, before a movie starts, always was the so-called Wochenschau. What happened in this week? And every new week, what has happened, always was the bench of the Nuremberg trial. And my father was sitting on the right-hand side. And my mother wrote to my father in the prison, you are the best-looking guy on the bench. 6 million dead Jewish people. And she is writing something like this.
It's like she was disconnected from reality. They were living another reality.
And, suddenly, this couple who has broken off must be together. Now they become, in a very strange way, they felt in love again. And so I have a lot of, all these letters were given us back after my father was executed. And so his day of trial was the 18th of April in 1946. And suddenly my father was asked by his lawyer, Mr. Seidel, have you ever anything to do, or had you ever anything to do with the extermination of Jews? And my father was a little bit quiet, and then he said, yes, I have. I never have built up a concentration camp, but especially through the witness of Mr. Höss, Auschwitz, he was before, some days before, as a witness in this trial, I have to admit that also me was involved in these cruel things. Before the verdict were handed out, we suddenly got by layer of my father, lawyer, we can visit our father. And before, in the summer of 46, when the trial was going on still, the lawyer of my father, Mr. Seidel, came to my mother and said, Mrs. Frank, I am very sorry, but the proofs against your husband are so strong, we have to count with the death penalty. So we drove by train to Nuremberg, knowing that is the only and last time where we can see or meet our father. Yes, that we know by heart. And there was my father sitting beside him, a white helmet soldier or guard, and there was a window with small holes so that you can understand each other, but you cannot shake hands. And my father laughed at me and said, oh, Nicky, nice to see you. Very soon we will celebrate a Christmas in our house at the Lake of Schliersee, and then we will have our fun, and I will giving you this wonderful story about Tony, and we will have a lot of fun. And I was sitting, I was on my mother's lap sitting, and I was so disappointed. I came into this room, the whole journey, we knew it will be our last thing, and he will get the death penalty. And why is he lying? He was really sitting there and was so disappointing, thinking really, this I know till nowadays, why are you lying? Why are you lying? And was very much disappointed when I went out. In all, I would say not more than 10 minutes.
How old were you again?
7. I was 7.
You could understand what was going to happen to him, like the last time?
Yes, because we knew he will be hanged. That's for sure. But in the meantime, also I could read. We had this newspaper, and my eldest sister not always were hiding themselves when this small Nicky was around. It was for me completely, and also the scene. I was then in the school. And one of the boys in my school, after the school, we were walking together to our houses, and he said, "Gell, Nicky, your father will be hanged very soon." And I just answered, yes.
And how did that make you feel? Like being 7 years old, that's crazy.
As you know, why I still know this. All my life long. Also, it must have hurt me a lot, this sentence. This is for sure, otherwise I would have forgotten it. And then after the execution was in the night to the 16th of October, and some days later I never found out the exact date. My mother came into our children's home, and in a flowerful clothes, like spring. Not autumn, it was late autumn, so really colorful. And took us, I on the right-hand side, and Kitty and Michael on the left-hand side, and we went along. It was a very small village and there were no houses. And we went along, and then my mother said, "Yeah, now children, I have to tell you, now our father is dead. He is in heaven and he is for sure very happy." And brother Michael and sister Kitty cried aloud, and I was quiet. Because for me was just, I knew that he will be hanged. As now I got the official notice that he has been hanged. And my mother said to Michael and Kitty, "Don't cry, really, your father is really happy. He's now sitting in heaven besides Herrgott and so. And look, and Nick, he also don't cry." And then he had my hand and he pressed my hand and shouted nearly at me, "Why are you not crying?" She was completely confused why I'm such reacting in such a way. No?
What did you say?
He didn't say, I don't know, I didn't know. So I don't, at least I can remember it. I think I was quiet. But this was all my life long. Why have you worked with them? You knew exactly which horrendous crimes they are committing and you are committing. You didn't have to do this. You could have shown your beloved Hitler an attest from a medicine doctor. "My Führer, I love you, but look at this attest, my heart, my lungs and so on." And he would have survived, no? And I don't like death penalties. But still, I am very happy that my father got it. He would have ruined my brain. He would have ruined my brain. Because he was a wonderful speaker. He was very überzeugend. He could argue very good.
How do you feel about the far right becoming so strong?
Terrible, absolutely terrible. So, and this makes me so furious. Everybody knew what will come again. And they are, again, it's like a reviving of my father in the party. Really terrible.
Niklas, have to ask also, how do you feel about Jews sadly doing something so bad, so sad about Palestine now? Like, why are they doing the same thing they did to them?
Yes, first of all, if we look to Israel, yeah, Israel is a people. And as all the peoples, they want to have peace, as you also can see on the demonstrations in Israel. Which we also have is a bloody, unbelievable terroristic government in Israel. And they are running the whole people. And the people of Israel are not strong enough, and there I have to compare them around the world, with the people are always not strong enough to fight against those governments. For me, what's happening in Gaza Strip, it's really unbelievable. It's unbelievable and terrible. And but it's not the responsibility of the people of Israel. It is just the government. And what you can regret is, like I just told you about Germany, that the people are not strong enough to go, not with us 1 million Democrats, that the people, all of them, or at least 3/4 of them, stand up, marching to Jerusalem and to Haifa and say, Schluss, end. Now And everybody knew Netanyahu is fighting for his own survival. And that's very sad.
The last question I always ask to everybody that I interview, to all the guests, is if you could see yourself when you were younger, or you could say to yourself whatever you wanted, what would you say?
Did I understand this correctly? What would I say today to me when I was young?
Yeah, if you could say something like a life lesson.
I had a very adventurous life, this I wouldn't miss. But what I told you before, the young Niklas, I would tell, look at yourself. You think you are cool. No. You have to have help. You need help because you are not honest with yourself. Acknowledge that you have loved your father dearly and that the hanging of him has built up a steel about your soul and about it. Please break it. Break the steel and think especially of your beloved wife. Then you could deal quite in another way like this.
Thank you so much, Niklas. Really. This was really good, eh? I can't believe it's German. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, sehr nett.
No, it's good, it's good.